Random memories. These are a series of memories, a word or two dropped in passing. The Pawnee remember the prophet who came and taught them of his Father, the mighty Holy of heaven. He told them not to forsake his precepts, and when they returned again to warfare, they thought often of his predictions, of how war but breeds more carnage. Even then he foretold the coming of white man. The Pawnee remember him as Paruk Achti and his father as Teroa. They know that they disobeyed him, and they pray to him in anguish. The Algonquin of eastern seaboard, when asked how they got their name for the dawn light, say that it was the name of the Pale One. They would not give him their own name, as he had asked them, for to him names meant nothing, and he allowed each tribe to name him. They asked instead his name in childhood when he lived across the ocean. The name he gave them was a strange one, hard to say in their liquid language, so today they try hard to say Ji-Hihul, God of the dawn light. The Algonquin of the Great Lakes remember well the pale great master. The Chippewas say he gave them many medicine lodges, whose signs and symbols are secret, fashioned from across the ocean, and even today they hold this secret knowledge. Even the proud Dakota, they of the turtle totem, leading north the light of serpents in the age-old migration, recall in long-lost adoration the sacred name of the pale-faced healer. It was long ago that we knew him. He gave to us our rite of baptism, many of our lodges, and our rites of purification. When he came to us, the days were warmer. The sun cast down shorter shadows. Well, do we remember how he foretold the coming of white man and other predictions? We had backslid from his teachings, but to him we dance the sun dance. We remember great Wakona well. Mississippi, the prophet makes a second visit to the Pawnee. Many tribes have tales of the healer and how at one time he came among them. Few did he miss, no matter how distant or poor or lost in the ways of their religions. But to the Pawnee he came twice, the last time in anger. The prophet had gone westward to the place we call Oklahoma, where the Ponents had a thriving city, and there he was busy erecting temples and instructing a priesthood. Some wild young braves among the Pawnee, who today are known as the Pawnee, formed a secret league to prey on the country, to make themselves rich by attacking the merchants and returning to the old war religion. The merchants thus captured, they would give to the fire god, who would protect them, said the young men. Accordingly, one night the Pawnee waited in a glen of the Mississippi where the fleet came to camp and rest on the long journey from the southern sea to the capital city. Quietly flowing was the Father of waters. To the glen came the long ships of the merchants, to discharge the weary rowers for a good night's sleep in the forest shadows. They suspected no mischief, and no watch was placed over the campsite, since the ponds had long been at peace. They laughed and joked as they built a campfire, and in noisy fun cooked their dinner. Then came the time of conversation, of remembering the long trip, small talk of girls in distant cities, of the customs of other nations, and of the man in the flowing white mantle, of whom there was great awe for the miracles he had accomplished. One youth was a skeptic. It is strange that we always seem to miss him. This young man sighed. for I'd like to see him, this creature that we call the Dawn God, and others the Lord of the Wind and Water. Then the talk became bushed, and the head man prepared the tobacco, starting the smoke himself by breathing it to the four directions, taking a few deep puffs of satisfaction before passing it onward to the man to his right in the circle. At last each got out his blankets, wove a bed of branches for comfort, and rolling tight in the blankets was soon asleep beside the low fire. Then with the yells of Sihoi, the great wolf, the wild Pawnee leaped upon them, snatching from sound sleep their surprised prisoners, now forced to carry their own trade goods back to the camp of the bandits. That was a mad night for the Pawnee, leaping and yelling in the firelight as they stalked out two men for the fire death, staked out two men for the fire death, for sacrifices to the fire god. Savage was the untamed dancing as they lit the flames above the ponds. Only one old man protested. He pointed to the east, where the star of the morning was rising. But the young men paid no attention. Who cared about the star of the morning? No one but the one they had called the healer when first he had come to see them. But now that one was far away, his magic weaker, as they chanted the wolf song. Laughingly they pointed at the prisoners, where one was dead and other dying. Let him come and revive these men. That would be much better magic than stopping a windstorm or walking on water. Then a fire lit up the east sky, where the cloud banks had been piled up, and everyone turned in wonder as consternation hushed the chanting. Suddenly he was there among them, like a creature from another planet, shining with a strange radiance, each hair of his head luminescent. A weird glow rippled from his garments and his sea eyes flashing with lightning. He stood staring at the Pawnee people. Is this the way you keep my commandments? Is this the manner of your insult to the spirit called Turawa? I come to shield you from his anger. O lo, great wind will ignite the forest, and to ashes would be consigned the Pawnee nation. While the Pawnee stared at him as if frozen, a weak voice cried from the fire, Chihus, master, from these flames release me. The healer turned and looked at the tormented man. You are free, my son. Walk away from the fire. The burnt one moved, and the chains fell from him. Then he staggered toward the healer, falling and clutching the hem of the white robe embroidered with the line of crosses. Those who watched saw a miracle happen, one which they had said could not happen, for the man straightened up without a blemish, nor was all over, for toward the dead man moved the prophet. Arise, another day is dawning. Thou art not yet for the land of shadows. Arise and return to the land of living. The fire died away from the blackened corpse, stirred and lifted its head and its burnt arms. Arise, my son, no chains are on thee. Come toward me and be made whole in body, for such this day is the will of my Father. The man arose and left the dark flames, staring at his good flesh with eyes unbelieving, murmuring over and over, To think that I had questioned thy power, forgive my master and unbeliever. Sealed were the lips of the Pawnee people with both shame and the terror of a child lost and bewildered. Yet Down through the ages has come the story, and sometimes the old ones repeated on winter evenings beside the campfire. The legend of the son of mighty Turawa, who came back in anger on a shaft of the dawn light, and by his presence saved from extinction the entire Pawnee Nation. Missouri, the healer travels to the Pawnee Nation. From Ikawa to the place where now is St. Louis. In the fleets of the merchants where went the healer, to the capital city of the Pawnee Nation, spread across the Mississippi at the entrance of the Missouri, lay the shining Pawnee capital, its boulevards radiated outward like the spokes of a giant wheel. From the central hub where the crest mounts, these had been built from the center outward, and recorded the ages of the Pawnee history when a dynasty had been completed and a calendar period ended. The artifacts of the period and the significant facts pictured on pottery were placed within, and the crest was closed with a mound of extinction. Henceforth this one was not to be reopened, and beyond it in the whirl of the wind god, running counterclockwise, was begun a new crest for the new period. On the old crest stood the Capitol buildings, building of great logs and beautifully painted, as the Pawnee custom. On the sides of the crest were earth-hugging strawberry carpets, mosaicked and bordered with garlands of flowers. The same carpets flowed about the dwellings of the people, in circular after the ways of the wind god. Many crests had been closed at the time of the prophet, and the capital city was large. For this was a great trading empire. There were 4 roads of commerce, up and down the mighty rivers, to the east across the mountains, to the fleets which moved along the shores of the Sunrise Ocean, west on the highway to Tula, capital city of the Toltecs. Many were the goods which were carried outward, hides from the herds of deer and buffalo, sometimes embroidered with colored quills of the porcupine, carved ivory from the Northland, baskets fashioned from white birch bark, and decorated with quill work, and of course the red gold copper mined by the Pawnee Nation, as well as many other goods for trading. The Pawnees were very careful of their plant heritage. Never was a cow with young taken, and the finest bulls were always protected. The same was true of the primeval forest. All fires were ceremonially extinguished, and in the most efficient manner, while the suitable trees were ceremonially scouted for the longboat construction. Unforgotten today in the Algonquin legends is the time of the prophet's coming, or how the fleet ceremoniously bore him, and how he was always greeted with flowers. If the white man never hears these legends, then he doesn't really know the people, for a few still live in the time of their greatness. But alas, if they met opposition or ridicule from the listener, the chant will stop, and the recorder's silence will end the story, perhaps even unto the land of the shadows.